As the COVID-19 pandemic continues and concerns grow over the Delta variant, it's important to consider the best way to protect our health.
More than 80% of the cases that we're seeing are linked to Delta infections. And so these travel restrictions are actually more so impacting people looking to come into the U.S. Basically, right now, the U.S. Restricts any travel from any non-residents that have been in places like the U.K., South Africa, Iran, Brazil, other countries like that in the last 14 days. But this does also, the CDC is recommending that the U.S. citizens, Americans looking to travel this summer, avoid going to the U.K. given the surge in cases there. There aren't any other bans in terms of which countries you can go to, but the CDC recommends if you're looking to travel to take a look at their website and you can look at the risk level of each COVID risk in other countries that you're looking to go to.
Joining us is NNV Weekly Medical Contributor, Dr. Akili Muhammad. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, ma'am. How are you?
Good. Thank you. What is the reason the number of infections is rising again?
I think that's an excellent question. The first thing that I will say is that, the media continues to push that it's unvaccinated people that are causing the surge. But I think just one simple question can put that to rest, and that is, what did the unvaccinated people have to do with this pandemic starting from the beginning? So that to me is a very worthless statement that a lot of people are making, because viruses are very unpredictable. And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said in the criterion, July 4th, 2020, they will not be able to stop this. It has mutations that are happening faster than they can keep up with. And so that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the reality that the minister has given us a path to look at by his statements that he made July 4th, 2020, and we're watching that reality come into fruition. They don't know how to handle this. They're not able to handle it. They're saying and pushing this propaganda that the vaccine was going to be the savior. But look at the people around the country. A lot of people are very angry because as the clip showed, people were making plans to have their summer be what they wanted it to be because they weren't able to do that last year. And now your plans are thwarted because these cases are going back up. So it's a combination of a lot of things, such as people getting vaccinated and not wearing their masks. People that are getting vaccinated are unaware of the truth about the vaccine and that it can't stop you from getting or passing the infection. And so I think a lot of those things, and the fact that this is an unpredictable infection, are all the reasons that the numbers went up. And again, we can't rely on the general media, because all they are doing is pushing the vaccine and blaming the unvaccinated.
Right. What effect do you think will this have on the general population?
Well, as I've said before, I am not, some magic person that has these great ideas. I'm really basing most of what I say on the instructions that are coming from the minister. And, there's always been, from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that there's going to come a time where the people are going to incite anarchy because of the lying of this government and the lying that's happening to the people. And when they start to see through the lies and they start to see that what's been posed to them as a facade, it's going to make them angry, and people are going to rise against their government. So to me, I think that is potentially what is coming, is an extreme vitriol from people that believed in what this country was telling them, especially about the vaccine. And then a lot of people are taking it because they're being pressured or bullied into it. And then they're seeing the side effects and the different problems that people are having with it. It's going to cause a lot of unrest, I'm sure.
Now, you mentioned just a moment ago the unvaccinated, and what were we doing when no one was vaccinated? So my question is, why are the unvaccinated being blamed for the rise in infections?
Yeah, I mean, the only conclusion that I can come to is that that is part of the propaganda push, because there are still quite a few people in the public that are unsure. When they do polls around the country, there are people that are absolutely against the vaccine. But then there's still some people that aren't necessarily against vaccines in general and aren't against this vaccine, but they do have concerns about the fact that this was a quick process. There hasn't been any authorization yet. There's been an emergency use authorization, but it has not been approved by the FDA. So a lot of people are looking at that as, okay, this is really not something that has been approved by a body that is supposed to give approval before it gets to the public. And so people who rely on the government and people who think that the processes that have happened in the past are the right processes, they're not going to take the vaccine until they see it approved in the way that they have seen things approved in the past. And, you know, when it really comes down to it, there are going to be a lot of truths that are going to come out with time. And so as we continue to see these cases go up, if the cases go up similar to the way that they did when it first came to this country, then how could it be an unvaccinated problem when the numbers were so high at one point in this country that, you know, there was so much confusion and nobody really knew what to do. Now that there's a large percentage of, and I should say approximately 50% of the American population that is vaccinated, that should automatically seem like it would keep another increase in the pandemic from happening.
That's right.
But as of right now, we're seeing a lot of people start to question everything.
Right. Is there any validity to the statements that vaccinated people can shed the spike protein toxicity and sicken others who are unvaccinated?
Well, there are a lot of studies out there that are saying that. You know, I don't think anything has been concluded yet, but definitely there are many reports from many places in the world that are now being studied more in depth, where people that never got the vaccine are in the vicinity of people who have gotten the vaccine, and they are developing medical issues, and sometimes just, you know, problems with bleeding, or young ladies and women having problems with cycles and things of that nature that are really at the top of the list of problems that are occurring. But I also read something within the last week where there are some people that are getting some type of neurological things, like not full-blown Bell's palsy, but some type of neurological issues like that. And they haven't taken the vaccine, but they've been in the company of those that have been vaccinated. And the other thing that we do have to also look into is that the producers of the vaccines said that shedding was possible. Now, they never talked about what that shedding would produce, but they definitely admitted that this type of vaccine and the technology behind it, there was a possibility that a vaccinated person could shed to people that are not vaccinated. And again, we will be watching what is happening over the next few months, few weeks, probably years, and trying to figure out what those problems really were when it comes to that shedding.
Right. Thank you, Doctor. I know that you've been in contact with some of your colleagues. What are they saying to you, or what have you all discussed recently with your colleagues around the country?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of the same that was, that I discussed before. I mean, there are many people coming into emergency rooms, and there are many people that have been vaccinated that are coming down with these unexplainable, a lot of people are using words like bizarre. We've never seen things like this before. It's not in the textbooks. We don't know what to do. Nobody has seen these type of situations before. That's continuing to happen. And as the cases go back up, and we're seeing around the country, it seems to be a younger portion of the society now that's being affected. And so you have an inundation of people coming to the hospital similar to before. The deaths are rising. And then there's this bizarre reality of post-vaccinated people and what's happening with them. And so they're overwhelmed again, back to the part like early in this pandemic when hospitals and medical centers were overwhelmed. They're getting back to that. But I really believe, as we have discussed before, it's coming to a place with healthcare workers where now the government is pushing mandatory vaccines for healthcare workers.
Right.
And so a lot of people that work in these facilities around the country are not willing to give into that. And I'm hearing that quite a few people are threatening to walk away from the medical industry when the mandates come down. So it's going to be very interesting because, people are not being convinced. And I'm talking about healthcare workers. Seeing what they are seeing, they are not convinced that the vaccine is an answer.
Right. Now, you've also talked about strengthening your immune system as recently as last week, as a matter of fact. What are the benefits of foods such as milk and navy beans for this purpose?
Yeah, so the first thing that I will say is that for people who talk like being a vegan or saying that milk products are bad, well, I always put my trust and my knowledge in God first. And the Quran says that that cow's milk is agreeable to the drinker. And so that would be number one on my list, is that God isn't going to give us information that's not good for us. Secondly, milk is an excellent source of glutathione, which is very important to boosting the immune system in the human body and getting rid of toxins, both things that help us fight and be strong during a pandemic. The second thing is it is a source of vitamin D. There are arguments whether it is a good source or a bad source. Unfortunately, most of the studies that say it's a bad source, that is homogenized and pasteurized milk. And so when we're talking about the best milk for us, it can be flash pasteurized a little bit, but it should not be homogenized. And that is something that can help boost our system. It has immune cells in it that can help benefit our body. And then secondly, and I shouldn't say second as if we're talking best or worst, but secondly in discussion is the navy bean is excellent. Some of the same reasons. Amino acids help build our immune system. And then we have glutathione in the navy bean. And then you have other things like zinc and iron and other things in the navy bean that helps boost our immune system and our blood in many other ways. So I would say to anybody that's interested in doing the things that help solve comorbidities and also at the same time help you make it confidently through this pandemic, you should have navy beans and whole milk in your dietary regimen for sure.
Okay, and very quickly, Dr. Akili, before we let you go, can you let us know what's new with the Ultimate Wellness Group?
Yes, tonight we will be discussing on the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday, we'll be discussing the immune boosting supplements that I mentioned from time to time. And there will also be an announcement that there are some new products coming out. So please tune in, the Ultimate Wellness Group on YouTube or the THEE, the Ultimate Wellness Group on Facebook. And the other place that you can find me is blackstream.live /TUWG. So come and join us this evening and enjoy the conversation. And let's continue to work on improving our immune system as we make it through this pandemic. God willing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank
we'll
you.
Look forward to hearing from you again next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. Coming up, educators Sister Sherrie Muhammad and Sister Tiffany X will be on to share more about Asiatic Mind's upcoming school year curriculum. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
Asiatic Mind's online school is offering a full educational curriculum, including science classes where students develop their skills, talents, and abilities and are provided the knowledge they need to learn and have a solid foundation in science. Joining us is founder and director, Sister Sherrie Muhammad, and educator, Sister Tiffany X. Greetings, ladies.
Greetings, sis.
Greetings.
Thank you. Sister Sherrie, we'll get right to it. Students enjoy learning, especially when it's delivered well. How will Asiatic Minds promote learning and make it an enjoyable experience for the students?
At Asiatic Minds, one thing I'm really excited about is we are going to have a school theme song. So that will be one of the things that we'll get our morning started with. After our prayer and recitation to the flag, we will open up with the theme song to get the children excited and ready about school. Also, to make education enjoyable, all of our teachers have excellent personalities. So they will bring their passion and personality to the table, which is something that engages students. When you're passionate and you show how much you care and that you're into a subject, that draws the children in, as well as the different online tools, Kahoot quizzes and different things like that will be used to help the children to engage into the subjects and have fun while doing it.
Perfect. And Sister Tiffany, greetings. As a science teacher, thank you. As a science teacher who is rooted in the knowledge that Allah God is the author of all life in the universe, will science classes at Asiatic Minds use this knowledge as a starting point in the classroom studies and the study of creation?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. The simple answer to that is yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that is the most important knowledge for our children to have. It directly ties them into the knowledge of themselves. So as taught in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Allah God created himself out of triple darkness. So I believe that offering our little gods the basis of the first God in his own self-creation and how he summoned his will and the power of his very being and mind to bring that which was unseen into a physical reality. I think that that's a prerequisite knowledge that I will be teaching and will be, with the help of Allah, inshallah, parsing and going further into, Allah willing. Some of the lessons that we will cover will be dark matter and its components and origins, energy, space, and time in relation to the universality of the original man and woman. Also, an in-depth study of the planets and other celestial bodies with a special focus on Pluto and how this planet in particular relates to us, the original Black man and woman, in the coming of Master Farad Muhammad. And basically just how, in fact, we are a universe of ourselves and how important it is for us to know our own selves in relationship to that.
Now, Sister Sherrie, will Asiatic Minds curriculum utilize aspects of the core knowledge curriculum that's recommended for K through 8, Common Core standards recommended for K through 12, and the next generation science standards, as well as additional standards developed to our aim and purpose?
So at Asiatic Minds, what we are not is we're not going to rebake what society has already given us, because then we will get a very similar product, which we already know is not what we want. That's why we have to educate ourselves. So, in Torchlight for America, on page 48, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, true and proper education starts with the knowledge of God. And then he also says, recognition of God is the proper beginning point for understanding every discipline. So that's where we're starting. This school is based on the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as given to him by Master Fard Muhammad. So will you find, if someone was to do a comparison, yes, we'll learn math and we're learning writing and we're learning all of the basics that one must know in order to matriculate through education, as well as to be able to develop yourself and be productive in society. But is it based on, hey, we're going to take their teachings, this part of what they gave and that part of what they gave? No. We're taking what thus said the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Sister Tiffany, can you tell us about your STEAM program and how you'll bring what you have learned from that program into the Asiatic Minds classroom?
Sure. Yes, definitely. Well, I began my STEM program, or STEAM, as you said, in my home as a private school. And it's called Divine Mind STEM Academy. It began in February of 2017. Basically, while working in the public school system, I realized that there was a dire need and an intentional lack of what I like to call the nation building sciences. They were not teaching Black children these sciences, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. And some people also incorporate the art, which is also important, in re-stimulating the creative essence and critical analytical mind in our children. And so I realized these sciences were essential, but they're also fun, and our children are naturally inclined to these sciences. So our children learn it very quickly. And so I plan on definitely incorporating that with different projects, different hands-on assignments, and just basically showing them the practical application of it and make it engaging and let them know that these are important in building a nation, which we are ultimately doing now.
All right. Now, Sister Tiffany, we know that scientific knowledge grows over time. Can you give us a few more examples of that scientific knowledge that students need to learn in order to have a solid foundation in science?
Absolutely. Well, specifically for our children, I believe that we should begin with our Muslim lessons. Our supreme wisdom and actual facts should be at the core of this scientific knowledge, because it is the foundation. They're very integral parts of our foundation as Muslims in the Nation of Islam, but really they are integral, period. So basically our lessons will help them to understand the scientific basis and theology of our lessons as it applies directly to us and our origin. Also, it will help our children to have a solid foundation in the science of everything, because everything is science, everything, you can see mathematics in it. So a perfect example of this is the question, what is the circumference, diameter, total square mileage, weight, etc. of our planet Earth? That's science. How much is the land? How much is the water? And then, it's loaded with so many jewels, and that alone we can study all year. And then also the question, what makes rain, hail, snow, and earthquake? See, all these questions, they prick the brain of the mind. And so that's what we aim to do, is prick the brain of our young minds and get them looking deeper into these questions.
Perfect. And finally, Sister Sherrie, does Asiatic Minds welcome and embrace students from diverse faiths?
Absolutely. You could come in. It doesn't matter what your faith is, but just as long as you have the understanding that this school is based on the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that teaching is simply truth. So no matter what your walk is, no matter what your faith is truth, and it will even help you to understand deeper what it is that you believe in.
That's right.
And it will cause you to have a greater appreciation for the different shades, if you will, of Allah God, and how he can deliver that message whether it is through this prophet or that prophet, the message is the same. And so, yes, the school is definitely welcoming.
Perfect. And that truth, how will teaching of the truth aid students from diverse backgrounds and faith interact with each other and the world at large?
It will help them because it will cause that appreciation. That's, one of the problems that we have in society now is the society that we live in is based off of white supremacy. And what that causes us to do is to totally look up to the white man as a god and look down on ourselves. So then and on the other side, for white people, it causes them to think that they're greater than what they are and that everyone else is much less than them. So then there is no appreciation for the Native American. There is no appreciation for Black people or Hispanic people, and the contributions that all people are, Asian people. So the contributions that we all make to society. So that's what, that truth is going to help to bring that balance for our youth.
Thank you. And finally, how can parents contact you to get their children enrolled? I know recently we've had open house. So if parents have missed that, how can they contact you to get enrolled?
Well, we do have another open house that's coming up on August the 7th. And you can go to asiaticminds.com and you can click on the admissions tab, and that will take you to the page where you can enroll and save your seat for the next open house. Or after perusing the website, should you say, you know what, I'm ready, I'm going to sign up now, then you can click on that same tab, admissions, and then you can click on enroll now and go ahead and proceed with enrolling your child. I will say that that space is limited, as it is for the whole school, but now that enrollment is really rolling, the spaces are becoming even more limited. So I encourage everyone to check us out today and see if it's a good fit for you and your family, and take the next step that suits you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you both for joining us this week. I look forward to hearing more about the students and their classes in the future. Thank you.
Yeah. And Sister Rosalyn, once again, I always cannot leave without thanking the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because were it not for him, I know I would not be sitting here talking about Asiatic Minds, talking about a school for my own. So I thank him, and I thank him for his sacrifice, and I thank his family for their sacrifices so that we could have him.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, ma'am.
Let's pause for announcements from our sponsors. When we return, North Carolina farmer Kamal Bell will discuss the farm, how the farm is helping to close the food availability gap in our Engine of the Nation report. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Asiatic Minds. Online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Classes begin September 1st. To enroll, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline reads, "Separate and Be Saved. America's race problems and deadly race interactions are growing worse. It is time we leave the children of our former slave masters and 400-year-old tormentors. Separation from whites is the only and best solution to this problem, a serious problem that is rooted in prophecy. This FCN volume number 41 edition middle page article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is entitled A Case for Separation. To read more, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com and tune in to the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the nnvnews.com Final Call Cover Report.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
Doing their part to help close the food availability gap in the community, Sankofa Farms, located in North Carolina, provides not only food, but education as well.
I'm out here with Farmer Howard. We're out here, hey y'all, we're out here trellising cucumbers. So I'm getting ready to show y'all how it's supposed to look. So here are the cucumbers here. And here's the netting that's used. And here are the T-posts here to connect the, what's the mesh? Is it a specific name?
Yep, 6 inch by 6 inch.
6 inch by 6 inch mesh. Trellising mesh. I can't speak. And here's a row that's already done. And Farmer Howard, I needed to learn how to do it. We have some cucumbers to plant. So I came out here and he's showing me how to do it. So this is what it looks like before it's all complete.
Joining us is Kamal Bell. Greetings, sir.
How you doing?
Great. When did you start the farm?
So the farm was actually started in 2016. And that's when we first purchased the land. But as far as the idea for the farm, I got the idea in 2010 when I was attending North Carolina A&T. And I used to have this big problem where I would go to the library in the Black Studies section and start reading a lot of books instead of doing my schoolwork. And it eventually caught me my sophomore year and I had to make like a readjustment. But during that time, that was like my discovery phase where I was really just beginning to understand who I was and my place in society and in the world.
Okay. Now, you recently added a set of bees to the farm. Can you tell us about how you went about acquiring them?
Yes, that's a great question. We got bees, I believe, in 2017. And the reason we start working with the bees is one, because of the connection to our history in Kemet, that bees are very important in our in how we build civilizations. But then also one of the students actually proposed the idea that we get bees. And when I asked him, he mentioned that it would keep him more engaged at the farm. And at the time I was terrified. I mean, the only time I really seen bees was like out in the environment and also in the Candyman movie. So we have like a bad perception of bees. But once the student mentioned that, I felt like it was my job to connect them to their interest and to opportunity. So we met with the local beekeeper in the area, and he took us out to his apiary. And that's just any place where you keep your bees. And we all loved it. And from there, I went to bee school and got certified. And then I noticed that there weren't many Black people in the class. So I asked the students, would they like to get certified? And they said yes. So 4 of our students are actually certified beekeepers. And also, we're actually starting tomorrow. We're going to be working to set up our own beekeeping certification class, and which will prepare people to be 21st century beekeepers. So it'll be driven you'll troubleshoot issues in your apiary with data instead of just by eyesight and kind of superstition. We're going to have a more data-driven process with our bees. So we actually had a little issue last week. We actually had a pesticide kill last week. So our bees went out to forage on an area, and they picked up a pesticide, what we think so far. It looks like all the signs are pointing to a pesticide kill. We're waiting for the test results to come in. But we were at 60, now we're at 48. But bees replicate their and I like to compare their experience here to ours. They'll bounce back and they'll recover, and we'll be fine heading into next year.
Yes, sir. Oh, one of the things that I noticed is that there was a video that I saw where you were working to catch the queen. How long did it take for you to do that, and why is that necessary?
So that's a great question. Catching a queen is something that can take maybe 10 seconds or it can take 10 minutes. So just based on where the bees are congregating, that gives me an idea where their brood chamber is. And brood are bees in their developing stages. So bees have a lot. They have 4 stages: they have the egg, larva, pupa, and adult. So the brood chamber is all of those stages of bees on frames that are side by side. And typically in a healthy hive, it average around to be 4 or 5 frames, and sometimes 6 or 7, depending on what time of year we're in. So it's important to find the queen because she's laying the eggs, and she's her job is tasked with reproduction. So if you don't have a queen laying eggs, you don't have a productive colony. So being able to identify her and being able to troubleshoot issues with her is very important to the longevity and into the sustainability of the colony. Just like our experience, like without having an emphasis on reproduction, you aren't able to reproduce. So it's really important to be able to troubleshoot issues surrounding the queen. And sometimes you might the colony may be requeening, where they'll create another queen and then realize that something's wrong with the original queen. So and sometimes they may swarm and produce multiple queens. So just being able to troubleshoot issues in the colony, it's important to have a strong and healthy queen.
Okay. Now, before the addition of bees, you were in a full-out farm, and within the last year or so, you've made changes to your planting processes. What are some of those changes, and how have your crops benefited from them?
Y'all make our food look so good up here. So at first we were dry farming. And when I mean dry farming is we're planting in the field, we're using a plow, we're using a tractor, we're using a tiller and a cultivator to try to farm. And we didn't even have a well. We just recently, we got a well, I think 2018 through the through a Orange County a department here. They grant farmers out. They give farmers grants in this area, and at first it was very difficult. We were out there weeding. In the sun. We didn't have irrigation like I just mentioned. It was very difficult, but we started to look at different systems of farming. And the farmer who was in that tunnel with me is Farmer Howard. He's a more seasoned veteran farmer, and he was just saying, "Hey man, I think you should look into getting some of these greenhouse tunnels." And I was just like, man, like all I knew at the time was just going in with the 1950s approach to farming with the tractor and plow and the tiller. But once we got one and we started to learn how to approach farming from a more systematic standpoint, our whole operation changed. And the data management piece is important, and having systems in place to troubleshoot issues is very important. And it gives us more stability and to be able to enter the 21st century with the skills that farmers need, because we don't have across the board. We're not entering the field as a 21st century farmer. We're not entering the field and where it's going. We're entering it and where it's been. And that's how we're running into so many problems. I think partly outside of the other systematic things going on, our approach to farming has to really change.
Now, the local community has completely embraced you and your family's farm, as well as the classes. Do you have plans to expand, and what steps would you suggest one take to acquire land and start a farm?
I think people really have embraced Sankofa, one, because we're openly saying that we're not afraid to be African. Like we're openly recognizing that our history, and you can't really, like, people are going to say, "Oh, I don't like." You can't. It's like the elephant in the room. We're addressing it, and I think people respect that and appreciate that. And then we're working with youth and bringing them in. Like our first student in the program, he's going off kind of A&T to major in agriculture, and this was a student who is really from. He has a really tough background, and I'm looking forward to him just telling the story and how he's beating the odds, because we're not done yet. So I think that has allowed people to really feel a part of the farm and then watching it grow is not just a rhetoric that we're talking about. We're just like, hey, we're doing this thing and we love the support. And if you support, you're allowed to come and help. And if you don't, that's fine. But either way, we have to get this work done. And I think people respect that. And as far as the education, we do Bees in the Trap. That's the experience through Airbnb where people can come out, suit up, and learn how to inspect a hive hands-on. We do an online version of Bees in the Trap, and which is only $15. And I go through the equipment, then I take you into a live view of what a colony, how it operates. We do tours, and we're going to be doing more planting classes and showing people how to get their systems set up after this year. We still have some infrastructure work to get in place, but I think those things just draw people in, and it's changing the stigma on Black people in the farming industry.
Now, finally, I want to learn more about this new series that you have started called The Growers School. What can one learn or expect to learn from this series, and how can you be reached for donations, classes, and where do we tune in for more of the Growers School?
So the Growers School is a partnership between Sankofa and Faithful Farms, and that's Farmer Howard's farm. The idea eventually, he's like the engineer. He can really engineer and put together the farming systems, and the idea was really more just so to get people to be able to see that. So he's helped us a whole lot with our farm and other farmers in the area. And I think it's really like a really good platform to people to see and witness his genius. So people can follow us on Instagram at Sankofa Farms. It's right there at the bottom of the screen. And they also, and that's where some of the footage will debut. But you can also, if you go onto some of the segments, he's tagged in all of them. You can go to his farm to get more in-depth information. It's more so just an introduction, and we'll build off of that concept. I really think it'd be really good for people to just really be streamlined into what he's doing with the engineering component. I think my purpose of farming is going to go maybe like a different way, but it's really just to show collaboration and unity amongst Black farmers in that sense. So that is really just a brainchild of us just coming together and thinking about how we can get the information out. And if people want to donate, you can go to sankofafarmsllc.com, and literally there's a donate button at the top. It's through PayPal, or you can reach out any way you want, and we'll send you an address to send donations to. So those are just ways that people, if they want to support our mission, you can support us. And then it's not even monetary. You sharing our content, liking it, subscribing to our YouTube channel, LinkedIn. Those are ways that people can support, and just pushing the information when they see it. That goes a really, really, really long way. And sometimes it's better than the monetary aspect of it. So those are just all ways people can support what Sankofa Farms is doing.
Yes, sir. And thank you. I want to say Farmer Bell. Thank you, Farmer Bell, for joining us today and letting us know what has been going on with your wonderful farm. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us today and tuning into National Network View News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network News. This is Rosalind Parks with National Network View News. Good night.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.